platforms and other subsequent leads. So think of it as not a band-aid, but a way to increase their rate at a very, very fast rate at a very optimal cost. So, sample use cases for this would be like, investment elections, marketing preferences, name change, change of beneficiary, address change, accounts, status, distributions. And again, these are all rules-driven, right? So it's just if then else. So it's a very structured way of coding or configuring these robotic platforms, right? So there's no real intelligence in play. But if there's a change to, say, a form where, say for example, you have name, right? So there you have, you can put Bhavik, Patel in, right? But if they break it to first name, last name, you would have to make those subsequent changes to the robot because it's very fixed structure. So the form layout, whatever digital format's coming in, it's a very strict, structured form. And I'll give you an example of that from the DV, why we use machine learning, because there's not many permutations and combinations, it's just a fixed form, right? So if you're filling out an application online, whether it's for a credit card, what you'll do in that robot, you will program it to say that this is what the form looks like. First name's found here, last name's found here, address is found here, and this is the way the page would look. Anytime that there is a change made to that page, or any of these front-end applications that the robot interacts with that's feeding the robot, you would have to make a subsequent change to the robot. But a lot of these processes that are in play today, like you're looking at BA 2.0, are pretty much stable processes. They don't change that often. So think of it in that way, and I'll talk to you around how machine learning will be working through this. Right? So a lot of you people are out, so I'm hoping that you guys have sort of got a good foundation of what robotics is, some of the business drivers that is driving the market for this technology today. What I wanted to do is actually show you some of the vendors out there that are actually in this play, because robotics it's a commodity now, so you don't build robotics programs, you go and buy third-party products. And the biggest ones on the street right now are Blue Prism, UiPath, Automation Anywhere, OpenSpan, WorkFusion. Those are the top 5. These here are still in play. They're the smaller shops. I'd say that Blue Prism is the most popular one right now. Blue Prism is a British company. It floated 2 years ago, I think last year, on the stock market in the London Stock Exchange. It's a very good entry-level platform. Their interface, I don't know if you've used Visio before, but Visio, that's how the interface looks like. So it's very business user-friendly, and most of these are in that place. So think of it like a workflow where you have objects at the top, drop down the mainframe, drop down the subsequent sequence of tasks. That's how it would look within these tools. So the one I'm very close to is WorkFusion. Let me just work through these. So UiPath is also popular, but the 2 biggest ones right now are Blue Prism and Automation Anywhere. Blue Prism is like the entry-level one. That was one that was ahead of the curve, and that's why it's very popular on the street right now. But I don't see Blue Prism hanging around too long, because there's been a very big shift to Automation Anywhere. And I'll give you the distinct reason why. Automation Anywhere actually has analytical capabilities, right? So today where you're performing your human tasks, and your boss asks you, "What did you do today?" I had coffee today. I sent some emails. I've done my job. With Automation Anywhere, you actually can see you're gathering statistics of what the robot's doing. Remember, these robots don't run from 9 to 5. These robots are running 24/7. So say for example, you have processes in Asia, London, Middle East. These robots can run and pick up these, run around the clock, so there's no downtime. Again, with humans, we leave at 5 o'clock, right? So in a typical productive day, well, in my day, I only work about 4 hours a day. The other 4 hours I was all over the place goofing around. But now with robots, you're getting full maximum, how do you say it? You're getting full utilization of the workday with these robots. And now it's not only an 8-hour day, you can pick up processes from Europe and the rest of the world. So you've got these, it's one use case I was working with over at a bank we were telling them that we could probably reduce headcount in multiple locations and have them centralized in the US and then run it from there. But what we're seeing is an extension of robotics. These are all standalone vendors. I don't see a lot of these vendors going to be here in the next 3 to 4 years. OpenSpan, for example, was bought by a company called Pega. I don't know if you're familiar with Pega. It's basically a VPN provider. And I've mentioned earlier that I look at robotics as just an extension of VPN. OpenSpan was bought by Pega 2016. It's a standard at Bank of America. And as we were talking earlier, that I'm working on multiple projects at Bank of America right now. They don't entertain any other product. They only entertain OpenSpan. And again, as a Big Four consulting firm, we have to be product agnostic. We don't have a relationship with any of these vendors. It's more of the client choosing their preferred vendor, and then we provide the tools to help them implement and succeed at the next level. So I'm going to go back to the use case I gave to you about Deutsche Bank. I worked on a product called WorkFusion with David, and this platform here is well ahead of the curve in terms of the other products. The reason I say that, I have a bias towards WorkFusion because I love what they've done from a product strategy standpoint. They are ahead of the curve in terms of their thinking of where automation should go. Right? So remember we had that first diagram with automation going to BAU 4.0. The problem is the market's not ready for BAU 3.0. You know, they're not ready for robotics full blown. We're entering that now in 2017. So what happened with WorkFusion, they were ahead of the curve, and all the other players were eating up the market in terms of getting conversations at the table that, you know, we have an RPA platform. They marketed a tool called SPA, call it smart robots. So robots that can think, whereas the other vendors are robots that are rules driven, right? So you're basically giving it if then else, Boolean functions, and if anything changes in that, you have to go make those physical changes. Whereas WorkFusion, it actually makes some intelligent decisions in its process, and I'll give you that. And I'll give you a really good use case on that, what we did over at DV. So WorkFusion, we found a really good use case. Sorry, I think I mentioned about some of this use case already, but there was this one central point for this bank, Deutsche Bank, in India, where they had this process that had, you know, 10 people running it. Turnaround staff was huge. Volumes at 2,000 a day, they wanted to go to 12,000 a day, and you know they were tired of losing people. People were upset. They're working around the clock. It was not an intelligent level. It's a low-value job, right? Where you're just churning around, opening up emails. So the way it would work is that these operations folks would get an email from an agent bank somewhere in the world, and the central point would have multiple agent banks, right? So north of 100 agent banks. So each of these banks, think of it as a service bureau, right? They would get different formats, digital formats of a notification. There's no standard input. Now remember, with robotics, it's more standard. The more structured it is, the more easier it is to program, right? So there's not many permutations, combinations as an input, so you can structure your rules very easily. Now, when you've got a lot of unstructured, unnormalized inputs coming in, where you can have name in the subject line of an email, in the body of an email, an attachment of a PDF, your account number in a fax. You've got different types of permutations and combinations that are coming in. So you can imagine these people opening up these notifications, trying to find identifiers, and then making subsequent mistakes, whether it's credit letter of credit or drawdown, depending on the type of transaction. There was a lot of looking around. So with this, keep in mind that this was a perfect example of where machine learning could be applied, because all it is here is that you've got all these different types of permutations and combinations. You do structured teaching. So what it is that you have a model. So WorkFusion gives you this model. What we did is we took historical data. So we took a small sample set where we actually taught this model. So from bank A, this is how it looks. This is, you'll typically find a name coming in from a subject line, name coming in from body of an email. You'll find it in a header of a fax. For example, so you teach the model of how this specific bank would give their notification, and you teach it. So it's a lot of, so if you don't have the historical data electronically, there is some manual teaching that's involved upfront investment plan. So what we did is we took a sample set of 4 or 5 banks and about 2,000 notices, and then we taught the model. So it's called structured. We taught the model of how to interpret inbound digital formats with unstandard conventions. We got 80% accuracy rates. So we proved that from the model itself that if you had all these banks sending in notifications with unformatted standards, that the machine can learn, pick out the attributes it needed, type it into the application, and then process that transaction. And you'll never get 100% with machine learning, because all it will take is one of the agent banks sending you a different type of notification, or you might get a new agent bank coming in that's going to give you a completely different format in itself. But we were able to show 80% accuracy rates, and the team that we were working with were very happy too, because they actually saw light at the end of the tunnel. Because this one manager had seen the turnover of a lot of people working for him. So that's it was a real good use case around machine learning. But then you've got to understand the DNA, right? So you've got to really profile these use cases, because machine learning is not going to be prevalent for many use cases. It's going to be specific, unique areas. Okay, so when you're looking at these vendors, right? So when we get engaged with our clients, they often ask us, right? So there's this big portfolio of vendors out there. Which one do we go for? How do you know which one is the best one? So what we did is we really sort of like looked at these 5 pillars: ease of development, core functionality, enterprise class, and infrastructure. And there are a lot of pros and cons with the entry-level ones. And so it's more of a given of which standard the bank will be taken. Like for Bank of America, for example, they won't entertain any other one because they've taken a big investment in Pega, so they'll take OpenSpan as their implementation platform of choice. Now, depending if there is any big use case around machine learning, that core functionality is not there, they'll explore other vendors. But these are I won't go through every bullet point, but these are typical, OCR capabilities are a big popular one. Can we, do optical character recognition of checks, statements, inbound notifications, looking at the Deutsche Bank example I gave. And, the real big hiccup in a lot of these platforms is around Citrix, right? So a lot of applications today are sitting on Citrix servers. Blue Prism has a problem with connecting to Citrix servers. It's a lot more complicated than something like an Automation Anywhere would approach it. So there are some pros and cons around some of these vendors, but right now it is a rat race. And there was actually news released just before the end of the year where WorkFusion, like I mentioned, WorkFusion is way ahead of the curve in terms of its cognitive capabilities, but they've overshot the dimension because the world's not ready for cognitive thinking. They're just adopting RPA. And my conversations with their product strategy group was like, how do I decouple the robotics component and do use cases and POCs without buying the whole platform, the whole ecosystem, because it's an expensive process. And they realize that the rest of the market is so far ahead of the curve in terms of RPA, and they're falling behind because they have the crown jewel, but the problem is that no one's ready for that crown jewel yet in terms of its machine learning capabilities. So what they've done now is that they've decoupled their robotics component and they call it RPA Express. The really good thing is that if you go to their website, you can see the webinar that they gave just before Christmas. So if you want to get savvy on it, go to workfusion.com and look for RPA Express. They're actually going to give their product away for free. And when you say free, the typical Gujarati jumps up and down. Right? So, and it's actually going to be fully free. When I say free, their product strategy is right now is that we get it, RPA, it's an entry-level platform, we're behind the curve. So the idea to squash their competition, they're giving away you can spin up 1,000 robots for free, an infinite amount of robots. In Blue Prism, for example, if you spin up one robot, you're looking at around $10,000. So imagine spinning up, 1,000 Blue Prism robots for an enterprise globally. Time to do the math, right? It's very expensive. Whereas Web Fusion, all you've got to do is buy the infrastructure, make sure you've got the right resources. That would be with any other platform, but it's not going to cost you $10,000 to spin up one robot. So they're making a very, I call it the suicide pill. And when I spoke to their product strategy, I said, you've got to make sure you get it right and make sure it's bug-free. If you don't, then you're going to get a very bad reputation in the market. And although you have the crown jewel, if you don't get this RPA on it right, you're basically going to set your path on a destructive path. Okay, so next one. So I try to put some comedy in place here. So I didn't want to say this earlier. I should have put this up earlier. Right. So if you ever go and talk to an operations folk, it's typically a 60-year-old man. That's in my area, it's all you get a Caucasian sitting there in the office. You start talking about robotics, he'll tell you, I watch Star Wars and Star Trek 2. There's the door, get out, right? The moment you start talking about machine learning and smart robots, he'll open the window and push you out the window, right? It's like, get out of the office faster than you typically would, right? So, so what we're really talking about here is industry adoption. And today, we're seeing that, like I mentioned earlier, Gartner's seeing 2017 as year of the robots. And I've flagged Work Fusion as the war of the robots because of their RPA Express coming out for free. So, the questions that you're really asking for now is really, is the enterprise ready for robots? Educating the COO of an enterprise. RPA is business-driven, IT-enabled, right? An RPA program should be part of an enterprise strategic initiative driven by cost takeout initially. Where we're seeing robotics programs fail is that we're having sporadic departments. If they have money, they'll go and start implementing robotics. As a single silo. Think of it the Wild West. You've got 20 departments, each one not coordinated, not working together. Because once you deploy once you've got a department fully enabled on robotics, you really need to build that center of excellence. What are the guidelines? What are the governance proceedings for robotics? There's a bigger picture that needs to be developed, and that really needs to be top-down communication versus siloed amongst different groups. And that's where we're seeing a lot of failures amongst early adopters. So, we've been engaged in EY not only to come in and just talk about robotics, it's right, how do I make a program successful, right? But really a lot of this is really endorsed at the top, because you can imagine, and that's why I've internally had these conversations, with EY that, without top-down communication support from the COO level, you're not going to get the fast sort of success rate that you would be wanting to look at. RPA again is not for all business processes. So as you start profiling, you want to look at a process that you're going to get maximum amount of value out of, whether it's FTE savings, cost savings, reduced operational risk, moving people from doing low-level tasks, or spending 4 hours a day doing crappy work. You can get them doing 8 hours a day doing valuable work, and then using that 4 hours for robots to take on that core functionality. Another way of looking at how robots should never start big bang, as mentioned earlier. Start small, focus on a core business process where you can derive full business potential, and then where real business value can be derived, and then you take it from there. So most of these POCs, you're not going to throw the code away. You're just going to basically take that line of that workflow or that POC is, and then put it into some sort of factory or COE and extend it out and then productionize it. So how do I get started? So I just wanted to start thinking, so now you've got an idea of what robotics is, some of the business strategies behind it. Let's just understand how to get started, right? So, yeah, I get it, right? So people, when I speak to them after the first 15 minutes, they understand it, right? But how do you really get started, right? So here, I try to give some sort of an approach where here you have a short list of operational areas. The first point I would say is that you would always shortlist operational areas where candidate opportunities may arise, right? So within that, so say for example, you were to work with the COO, you get his buy-in, right? So the first question I'll ask is, how do I start, right? So what you would look for within lines of businesses across an enterprise, for example, you look for characteristics, frequent, repeatable, consistent processes, electronic communications that triggers process initiation, and rule-based deterministic controls and processes. Remember, fixed controls, these are the kind of things that you want to profile and think about as you're engaging with certain business lines. Then ask the right questions. So once so say for example, you go to a collateral management process, right? You've identified that the first 3 points give that high level entry point to have a conversation with that lead. These are the right questions that you need to ask him. Locational resources, relative cost in each location, the number of systems that touch per account in process, peak, average, and minimum. Volume of suspensions, offboarding, daily. These are the questions that you would really start sort of like engaging with your key sponsor. And what we call this is more of a suitability assessment, right? So you're assessing, if this is a good candidate for robotics, and then you stop the conversation, or you take the conversation to the next level. So now you're looking at RPA program execution, right? So now you've found your target processes. What's the next step, right? So first of all, does your client or wherever you work have a robotics platform? If not, let's start looking at an RPA vendor. We can do a vendor selection, best of breed. You have the characteristics on the other slide, and then once you've bought it in house, they'll give you development licenses. Most clients, I would advise not having a single vendor strategy, more of a multi-vendor strategy. And we've seen multiple banks do that. I mean, Bank of America is completely different way organizations structured. Citigroup, for example, has Automation Anywhere and Work Fusion, so they run through a multi-vendor strategy. There's pros and cons between both sides of the equation. So once you've got your RPA vendor, you then want to select a process, and you want to select a process within that group. Now, the way what we do at ENY is that we would sit with the business and start documenting flows, process flows. So we would work with that business user and really sort of understand what they do from inception. So from keystroke to application to opening up, taking information from one database, keying in data entry, submission, through the whole process end to end. So you really sort of like document the whole flow of the actual target process. And then within that process, identify areas, right? So you can say that, so if this one process took 15 steps, not all 15 steps can be applicable for robotics, because there are some supervision that need to be employed at some point. Say that 15 steps, 10 of those steps you can identify for robotics. So you then identify where in those 15 steps robotics could be applied. And then you work with the business sponsor saying that, hey, we've sat with your business process SMAs, and we've documented your process, but we think that these are the areas where robotics could be applied. So we define the scope. So then you start doing your target processes. So these are typically Visio diagrams. So this is kind of like the preparation work that you're doing. We're building up the momentum for the POC. Right, so then you define your target process and how it would look. So for 15 processes, it goes down to 3. Right, so everyone's getting excited and the pros and cons of what we're going to deliver. And then we define the scope for the proof of concept, agree with the success criteria. So then you can talk about all the bells and whistles, but without predefined success criteria for a POC, you're not going to get that real value add or convincing buy-in from the business to build that business case. Right? So what we typically do is then, once we've got the design and build, we will then build the proof of concept in a development environment using the target RPA vendor. Now, once we're done there, we then build the business case. We then start measuring the success that was given based on the business criteria. Present it to the business, secure business sponsorship. He gets it, because you got to remember, the business sponsor is still skeptical at this stage, right? So it's still, you have those conversations with the business sponsor. you talk about robotics, the first thing he's going to say to me is, prove it to me, right? You know, you've got to see at my table, prove it to me. And then at this point here, you pretty much convince them that, you know, this is what we've achieved from our POC, and that's when it's, checks really start flowing in terms of securing the business into such a big program. And then what we do is we don't throw away the code that we've done for POC, we extend it. Right? So we then extend the POC, take it to production implementation, show the real business value, and then start transitioning. So from a current operating environment, helping them really understand how their manual full-time employees will be augmented with a virtual workforce. So you need to start educating. There's going to be a massive shift in terms of how the business operates today to how it will employ with the virtual workforce. And then we construct a roadmap to start onboarding other candidate processes, right? So you've taken a small example, you proved that it works, you've got buy-in from the business. What's next? How do I rapidly roll this out? And again, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of these programs will start paying for itself because of the realization of benefits that comes at a very big rate. And we've got one client that's pretty much in production in an insurance company. That's very much close to being the optimal it can be in terms of robotics. And then when we start delivering against our roadmap, this is the services that E&Y provides. Some banks want to probably go on it their own, but this is just talking from a point of view from what Arbin and I have seen in the marketplace. I think I'll stop there then. 11 o'clock. So, any questions? Happy to. Okay, we'll go from front to back. Yes, go ahead.
First of all, thank you for this information.